The media is huge. The media is everywhere. From billboards, cell phones, to our television screens. The media tells us what to put in our bodies and on our bodies, what to buy, what medicine to take. It even persuades us what we should eat and ultimately who we should fear, hate, or adore. Media influences and directs our world and each person's identity and how we see each other. As people, we receive a tremendous amount of who we perceive ourselves to be from the media. According to an ancient and important law, the Kabbalion, it states, "The mind is all." Our minds shape our entire reality. And if outside suggestions are made, these influences sway your mental perceptions and control the outcome of your life and the outcome of society. The subconscious mind, the part of our bodies that shapes our reality, is influenced by images, trauma, and repetition. It is no wonder we are so heavily influenced by what we see on our phones, in the newspaper, and on television. Isn't it ironic that there is a long-standing societal view of what is considered beautiful? Co-signed and pushed by the media, all over the world, people bleach their skins to obtain a lighter complexion. From India, China, United States, Jamaica, Thailand, and Africa. The push for a Eurocentric look is deeply embedded in the minds of people. War and fear among people have ensued due to the media. From repeated images of blacks being thugs, black women over-sexualized in music videos, or playing the sapphire or the angry black woman, to Arabs being terrorists, in contrast to white men viewed as trustworthy businessmen and investors, while white women portrayed as damsels in distress, feminine and gentle. We categorize people's identities and form our perceptions from what we see in the media. The subconscious mind, which rules 90% of our lives, is controlled by images and symbols, repetition, and trauma. Ever since the creation of media, images and traumatic narratives molded identities and perceptions. Now, the first form of media was the printing press, and it would change our reality forever. Unfortunately, over time, traumatic events and narratives, beauty standards, and cultural biases would also be printed and later appear on television, changing the way we see and judge each other. Let's examine the Vietnam War. In August 1964, with the push of the United States government, a story was reported by the media that on August 2nd of that year, a North Vietnamese torpedo boat had attacked United States ships on 2 occasions. This story later proved to be false and simply a means for the United States to enter into a war with Vietnam. Tensions were high at this time, and the American people had bought into the propaganda pushed by the media that North Vietnamese people were antagonists and that the United States had to act and, quote, take all necessary measures to protect United States forces in Vietnam. Over 3 million Vietnamese and 58,000 American soldiers were killed because the media was used by those in power to fabricate a story to enter the unjust war. A pivotal point of the media's impact and influence on identity came as early as the 1900s. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood District, better known as Black Wall Street, was a thriving and prosperous city, which is less known to many blacks and whites today. This beautiful, flourishing city was settled and created by African Americans with luxurious neighborhoods. The average income of black families in the area as early as the 1900s exceeded what minimum wage is today, with 6 families owning private airplanes. This beautiful city, though, would soon be wiped out. A newspaper article was printed by the then daily newspaper, the Tulsa Tribune. This racially charged report fabricated a story that a black man had attempted to rape a white woman, shaping the identity of this black man as a criminal and a rapist. Due to this report, an angry white mob destroyed and killed 300 people of color and injured 800 in this thriving community. This angry white mob destroyed the city's banks, businesses, airports, planes, and homes, causing 9,000 people to become homeless. Entwined in our culture is the media, which has an even darker beginning. After the start of the newspaper, live theater shows became a popular form of entertainment. The most popular form of entertainment during this time in the 1800s became what was known as minstrelsy. According to TCM, some would say minstrel is the first American art form and produced a sense of the national culture. Minstrel shows started in the early 1800s and became an extremely popular American entertainment. It was the primary mechanism for whites to see anything related to black culture. Through this form of media, whites would dress up and perform in blackface, portraying blacks as singing and happy to be serving their white masters. They were portrayed as childlike, in need of supervision, or lazy. It replicated what people romanticized about the antebellum South, painting a picture of slavery times in which slaves were dancing, singing, and happy to be serving their masters, which is a misrepresentation of what the slavery system actually was. Conscious and unconsciously, this misrepresentation of identities has seeped into the minds of the people and the generations of the people who watched. The media's influence on people starts at an early age. Children pick up on subtle suggestions on what is considered bad, good, or beautiful from the media. These subtle suggestions influence children once they become adults. Let's take a look at the doll test experiment, a psychological experiment designed in the 1940s in the United States to test the psychological impact on African American children caused by prejudice and discrimination, now recreated by Fanpage. This tests the current prejudice and discrimination that still exists in today's climate.
Quale bambola è bianca? Quale bambola è nera? Quale delle due è bella?
Questa.
Qual è quella bella? Qual è quella brutta? E qual è quella buona? Quale è cattiva? Qual è buona?
Lei.
Perché è buona?
Perché ha gli occhi celesti.
Quale è cattiva? Perché è cattiva?
Perché è tutto nero.
E qual è la bambola che ti somiglia di più?
An article written by Letshannondunk states that the media influences people's culture and way of lifestyle. The films, music, programs, and now social media impacts our lifestyles and cultures. Isn't it evident that most of the young people behave, dress, as well as imitate the celebs, musicians, and influencers that are widely covered in the media? They are therefore socialized to believe that what they see in the media is what they are supposed to be. Because our subconscious minds are ruled by images, what we see on our cell phones becomes reality. Cultural barriers have also been created through the media within the Black and African diaspora. The identity of Africans have been narrated to be savages, diseased, dirty, and poor. The demonization of Africa has been going on for decades, since the first images of Tarzans popped up on our screens, and repetition of children in poverty in commercials to the propaganda of diseases telling the world only one narrative of a place they have never visited. While the identity of blacks has been molded as thugs and criminals, these two identity narratives created by the media has caused fear and mistrust among blacks and Africans. Isn't it ironic that some blacks in America try so hard to disown their African heritage? Or some Africans distrust and see Black Americans as disorderly? The media has been instrumental in how Black Americans and Africans view themselves and each other. One-sided narratives without the whole picture eventually lead to fear and damaging image of Black and African people around the diaspora. This perverts the minds of all races. Let's just imagine for a moment a Black Thor or a Black Spider-Man, or movies of great African dynasties that have shaped the world, stories that have never been told before. Movies that are repeated in our society, such as The Color Purple and Roots, play heavily on the subconscious mind. As mentioned, the subconscious mind is influenced by images, trauma, and repetition. So year after year, if the same movies are played as a gesture of remembrance, it still affects the subconscious mind, which makes a reality that there is no other history for Black and those in the African diaspora than slavery. The media has its positives. We laugh, we cry, we feel the splendidness of entertainment through movies, music, television shows, and social media. But being conscious means to be aware of the impressions that these types of media has on our perception of our identity and the identity of others. Think about the next time you see a person of color or a Muslim wearing a hijab. What do you immediately think of? The next time you purchase an item or take a trip, think to yourself, was it because of the media's influence on your decision? Doing your own research whenever a news story comes out and developing self-awareness helps to be less likely to be strayed by the media. Thank you for listening again, eternal knowledge seekers, Sankofas, to this episode of Storytellers. See you next week for the next segment on identity as we dive into the hidden history of the African diaspora and identity. Discover and learn more on this week's topic by reading this week's articles. Links are posted below in this video. If you like this video, remember to subscribe, like, and share, greatly influencing the diaspora. This is Abby and Gary with Storytellers.